Hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new, please make sure you subscribe, comment, like, and share the vids. Today with me, we're doing a really exciting segment, very heavyweight themed with Kevil and Mo as well. So welcome. So Bob Arum said Joshua and Fury for next year, with obviously Joshua having Pulev in December, December 12th, which we'll discuss in a bit. But I want to quickly go to you, Kev. Who do you think is going to win Joshua and Fury if they do meet in May next year? So they have one fight next, obviously. Joshua against Pulev, Fury against whoever, those three most likely. And then they meet in probably May of next year. Who would you back and why? We discussed this before, but have you changed your mind?
It's Joshua versus Fury, isn't it? You're asking.
Yeah.
I still think who I said previously, which is Fury. Most likely on points. Yeah, I say Fury on points. He could potentially go for the knockout like he did for Wilder, but he might not risk that. I feel like Fury is generally, maybe not to this extreme, but I feel like Fury would probably outbox Joshua in a similar way that he outboxed Klitschko.
Okay.
That's my opinion, but obviously not to that extreme amount.
Yeah, because I feel like Joshua will be more offensive.
Well, Joshua's more. Klitschko was out of his prime anyway then, and he was a bit older. But yeah, I think it'll be tighter, but it'll be a similar way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Fury. It'll be a good fight.
Yeah, agreed. What about you, Mo?
I think Fury on. I think you'll knock him out. To be honest.
Yeah, massive Fury fan over here.
Well, there's only one. But I think. The reason why I think he will knock him out is because what he's learned from his previous fight as a result of being trained by Kronks is really such a good feather in his cap that I think it places him in a position where he can knock Joshua out. And I'm confident that he has the ability to knock Joshua out. Whereas before that second Wilder fight, Fury very much has been a boxer type of boxer, like very good, very technical, very awkward in the way that he boxes, and usually interested in winning on points. I think, to be honest, I think he could win both ways, but I have a feeling he will go for the knockout, and I think it's because of the fact that he probably enjoyed the second fight so much against Wilder that he probably thinks, well, I can probably knock this guy out as well now. Not to say that he's underestimating Joshua, but I have a feeling that because he knows Joshua's chin's been suspect in a lot of other fights that he's had. Obviously, Joshua's been knocked down before by Klitschko. He's been knocked down before by many fighters. We can name many fighters where he's been knocked down.
So's Fury, though, to be fair.
For example. Sorry.
So's Fury. Fury's never been stopped. He's been knocked down a lot of times.
But the thing about Fury is, if you compare, I mean, look what happened to Joshua against Ruiz, for example. Would you expect that to happen to Fury? Fury managed to get up after a Wilder punch and managed to box his way into a draw, which, to be honest, he should have won that fight anyway.
I think a lot of people put down Joshua based on that fight, but I think Joshua has learned a lot since that Ruiz fight, and if he can box Fury how he boxed Ruiz, I'm not saying he's definitely going to win, but I definitely think he's got a better chance, considering that was a big learning curve for him.
True, Kev. However, if you compare, I think it's difficult to compare Ruiz to Fury.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Ruiz came in worse in his second fight. No, with respect to Ruiz, who's obviously still a very good fighter, and I know on one of your other videos, Faizan, to do with mental health, and I think you might have mentioned. I know I'm crossing into cricket here, but I know you mentioned
it's cricket boxing.
About fat shame, but you also mentioned Ruiz, I think.
Yeah.
Ruiz is a good fighter, don't get me wrong. And people did think, well, you look at him, he's very overweight. How can he fight? But I think it's very difficult to compare Ruiz in terms of height, reach, and build to Fury. And I think, yes, Joshua's definitely learned that. More careful. He needs to make sure he doesn't get caught by any punches that will obviously knock him down if it's placed in the right place. But you can only learn so much. I think Fury's style's very awkward. He's a very tall fighter. I don't know if Joshua's fought someone that tall before. There's a lot of factors that is manifested in Fury as a boxer that Joshua simply has not dealt with before, and I think as a result of that, I think Fury will probably win that fight by way of knockout. But it can go both ways. As many say in boxing, it can go either way really on the night. Because Joshua, I can't take away from the fact that Joshua is also a very, very good fighter, very good technically speaking. More Wilder, for example, who Fury previously fought.
Yeah, the only thing I would say actually is that I agree with you that obviously Fury's not Ruiz, right, in terms of being, Joshua outboxing him. The one thing I would say, however, is that someone of Fury's height is probably more suited to Joshua. I think he actually fights better against taller fighters, someone who is at his height or in and around. So I think when he fights Pulev, that's almost like tailor-made for him, because Pulev doesn't move as well as someone like Fury. And but I do think that he struggles to punch down, and that's why he struggled against Povetkin as well in the early rounds. Like me and Kev, obviously we were there, right? And we saw in the first couple of rounds he was struggling, like he was getting caught, and it looked like he broke his nose in the first round. But similar with Ruiz, obviously he struggled, and with smaller fighters, I think he does have that difficulty, and because he wants to go in and fight on the inside, but when you fight against someone smaller, they're normally quicker, and Ruiz has got quick hands. To be fair, though, on the other hand, Fury does have quick hands, so for a big guy especially. Yeah. So it's a difficult one. I'm gonna go pretty left field. I think Joshua will win. I just think just for the fact that I would love to see a trilogy, and I do feel like if Fury comes out and knocks Joshua out in a few rounds, I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that straight away. I doubt it. I don't think there'll be as much interest, similar to what's happened with this Fury Wilder 3 fight. Although I don't know. I mean, if it happened in the first fight, maybe the second fight you're thinking like with Ruiz, or maybe he's going to come back and he'll learn something. I think Joshua will fight like how he did. It'll be in between like how he used to fight and how he fought against Ruiz in the second fight. I think that's what he'll employ against Fury.
Yeah,
and it's kind of finding that sweet spot where he kind of uses them both effectively. But I don't know, it's difficult. I think most people will go for Fury at the moment. I think after their next fight, I think people's minds may change, because you normally look at the person's latest performance. So we'll see, I guess. But something really exciting. Hopefully we're going to get the fight, and hopefully it's not going to be that far away and COVID doesn't ruin it. And then we get to May and then they're like, no crowds allowed. And we're like, shit. And then it goes back to like May 2022. So I don't know.
But... And then they're out of their prime and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but it's Mayweather Pacquiao all over again. Bloody hell, God. Oh, hopefully not. Oh, God. Right. Okay. So that takes us again quite nicely onto Joshua Pulev. That was announced December 12th. Kev, I want to go to you first then. What do you think? Because we discussed that pretty briefly, well, in a little bit of detail about a month ago. So I want to go to you. Do you have the same opinion about Joshua Pulev? Do you think it's going to be a kind of a Joshua knockout, and it's going to be a kind of a good showing from Joshua?
I personally, I think it's a good matchup. It's a good tune-up fight for Joshua's next opponent if he wins. I don't think he'll knock him out, my honest opinion. 2 reasons. I think number one, he's very precautious after the Ruiz fight to go for knockouts too early. And obviously he wants to box. And number two, because he doesn't have the crowd on his side, and because there's no crowd, I think he's less likely. I know it's a silly thing to say, but I definitely feel like Joshua's influenced by the crowd. And I think like if the crowd were cheering on after he was punching him, he'd just go for it to impress. So for those 2 reasons, I think it'll be a Joshua on points.
Okay, that's pretty interesting actually. That's I haven't had that too many people say that, but I can see where you're coming from, especially too with the crowd. I think some fighters feed off the crowd in either a positive or negative way. Some fighters, they become reckless because the crowd's cheering them on. They feel like they have to knock someone out.
Yes.
Some actually, it gives them that kind of second wind, which I think Chisora is one of them, which is why people are saying about Chisora Usyk, he might struggle. Okay, yeah, I can see why that might happen. What about you, Mo? What do you think?
I agree with Kev. I think it'll be Joshua on points, and I think we should also take into account the fact that Pulev is getting older now. I think he's 39, and he was out for 8 months because of I think there was a little ban because of the assault. So as a result,
that was very messy. Maybe we shouldn't.
Right?
As a lawyer, I think we should probably not get into that much, should we? So
no, but yeah, so that because of that incident, which meant that he was 8 months out. His last fight, which was back in, I think it was end of last year, against, I think it was Rydell Booker. It wasn't a particularly exciting fight, and a lot of people didn't really find it particularly interesting. He didn't seem to be at his very best, and I think age is creeping up on him. And it makes perfect sense for AJ to play the long game, not least because of the fact that the crowd isn't there, but also because, you might as well test Pulev's stamina, to be honest. Go the full 12 rounds. AJ is a fantastic boxer. He doesn't have to knock him out. He can take his time, especially given what's happened with the first Ruiz fight. He's learned that he needs to be able to take his time and pick his punches and realize that there's no need for him to get caught. So I think because of that, it'll be Joshua on points.
Okay, that's interesting. I personally think that it's going to be Joshua late on. I think he'll box him, like I think you guys are both saying. I think at the start he'll be a bit cautious because I feel like maybe Pulev might look early on a bit dangerous, maybe. But I feel like he's not quick enough in terms of his feet and hand speed to keep up with Joshua, and I feel like late on Joshua will knock him out, or it might just be stopped on his feet or something like that. The one thing I'll say about Pulev, though, to be fair to him, is so he fought against Hughie Fury, who's obviously Tyson Fury's cousin, and that was for the mandatory spot against Joshua. And the one thing after watching that fight that I noticed is his jab is a very, very good shot and a really good weapon, and he throws it almost as powerfully as some people's like right hands. So his left hand, so his jab, he threw a left and basically it caused a huge cut on Hugh Fury's face, and that like really hindered him for the rest of the fight. And the only thing I'd say about Pulev is he's a very good kind of very classic European jab and move, which is quite funny because as an up-and-coming fighter, he was seen as someone like a wrecking ball, and he'd come out basically swinging. And it was actually only until the Klitschko fight where he lost that he stopped being like that. And he got knocked down quite a few times by Klitschko and ended up being knocked out. And after that fight, basically, he's become a lot more cautious. And it's helped him to a degree because obviously he's got more points decisions. But to be fair, apart from Hughie Fury, he hasn't fought that many people of note recently. And as you said, Rydell Booker he's not a household name. He's not particularly anyone of note. And I think that may go against him, but he will definitely be up for this fight because, look, as everyone says, and I think it's right, when you fight against Joshua or someone like Canelo, that's a big money fight and you're going to be up for that fight, right? Everyone's going to be up for that fight because, look, it's a chance to rip away that status from them and say, look, actually, now all of this is mine. Yeah. And when I say all of this, I mean money, which obviously is what they're all prize fighters, let's be honest. That's basically what it is. That's the reality of it. Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting fight. So who knows what's going to happen with that. Yeah, guys, if you haven't already, as I mentioned at the start, please subscribe. Really appreciate your support and like, comment and share this vid. And again, thank you very much, Keval and Mo. And I hope you two and everyone watching has a great rest of the week. And yeah, stay safe. Thank you.